Hello and welcome back to the ARK of E podcast. My name is Noah.
And my name is Gavin.
And we're the Blanchard brothers back with you once again. Going to chat about a new release.
Yes.
A big old monstrous battle. And then from what you've informed me, you have quite the monstrous list of what you've been watching. Because it's been a bit since we recorded.
Yeah.
It looks like everybody enjoyed the all Blanchard review of Zack Snyder's Justice League.
I'll say.
The Snyder Cut, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, good numbers on that, all things considered.
Well, that's good.
Biggest hit of the year so far for us. So yeah, hope you enjoyed our little 2-hour journey through that 4-hour movie. I certainly had fun recording it. So more from the Cousins Blanchard in the future. We teased it on that episode if you didn't listen, but we got a nice 2x2 crossover coming when our anniversary kicks in next month.
Oh yeah, I gotta get ready for that.
May. Yeah.
I'll
you gotta watch Rocky and the Karate Kid to refresh everybody's memory. If you want to do the same. I know Rocky's on HBO Max, and I don't know who the heck has Karate Kid at the moment.
One of those streaming services, I'm sure.
Yeah. So, look forward to that. Also, eventually we'll get to it on our rewatches, but as we mentioned, if you may have seen it on Instagram, our next 2x2 for this month.
Oh, yeah.
This is quite the interesting pairing. Probably nothing's going to top In the Bedroom and, what did we do with that? Renaissance Man.
Yeah, Renaissance Man.
Yeah. Nothing's going to top that in terms of disparate elements coming together. But we have Super Mario Brothers.
Yes.
That is Gavin's pick, as voted on off. I forget what other. The Beach was in the running.
Right.
There's few suggestions for that, but Super Mario Brothers firmly won out.
And I was really hoping it was going to be The Beach.
Yes. And from my list, as teased on the In the Bedroom episode, people chose Michael Clayton, which also featured Mr. Tom Wilkinson. And correcting myself from that episode, which I listened back to, he did not win the Oscar. We'll get into that on the episode.
Oh, okay.
But that was the 2007 movie year, the 2008 Oscars. And of course, he was up against old Anton Chigurh in supporting. It's one of those where you're just like, yeah, dude, you got screwed over by Denzel and Javier, but like, what are you gonna do? I mean, tough break. That's your two best performances.
That's when you have to do like a I'm not there or whatever thing like Joaquin did, but you do it as like him, being furious at the two of them, like it's a real life thing where he just can't stand them.
To be clear,
I'm still here.
I'm still here.
What's I'm not there?
That's the Bob Dylan.
That's it. Okay.
I'm still that Todd Haynes, I think.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Sounds right.
Yes.
Todd Haynes is Velvet Goldmine, right?
Yes.
Yes. Then that's
okay.
You didn't seem too sure of that one, but yeah, I think Todd Haynes is Velvet Goldmine.
Haven't rewatched. That's more of a Gavin movie. Oddly, you think it would be more of a Noah movie,
you do.
But I've only seen it once. Granted, that was back in the Sycamore days, and maybe I'd get more out of it now.
You probably would. It's really good.
All right.
Yeah,
we'll give it a shot. Isn't that one of those that has like a director's cut that's like way better or weirder?
I think it's more weirder.
Something like that.
That was a film. That was like one of my first like, oh, this is what they mean by like film and media studies. Yeah, no, this is a...
I'm surprised you let yourself like that one, to be honest.
I know,
yeah.
but I
it's
didn't
very
know.
un-Gav of you.
Well, all bets are off when it comes to film school because college because they make you watch them. It doesn't matter whether you have to tell them why you like. I never stood up in class and was like, I don't think I'm allowed to like this.
Right.
I was just kind of like, oh, I got this out of it. So
there you go.
Okay.
I say we just kick things off. I don't know if this is going to be like a true full-on review because I don't know if I have any like intelligent thoughts about Godzilla versus Kong, but I think we can get a pretty decent little mini out of it.
Yeah, I could leave 30
You
minutes.
and I have not spoken. I
No.
did post my review publicly, so you know how I felt about it from the outside.
Yeah.
Did you end up seeing this in a theater?
No.
Okay, so you did watch it at home.
I did watch it at home.
HBO Max.
And I kind of enjoyed it that way.
Let me describe my viewing experience.
Oh, please do.
So I go over to our good friend Brendan Riley's house, his apartment rather.
Okay, with all the furniture?
Yeah. It was a little cleaner than usual. I appreciate it. And he cooked us 2 different New York strips.
Okay.
Godzilla versus Kong, if you will. One was a slightly more expensive cut, even though they're both strips. And it was like, we're going to do a blind taste test and see which is better.
Okay.
But yeah, I didn't even put that together until just now. But yeah, it was very, this steak versus this steak.
Yeah.
We had some veggies on the side because you got to have your vegetables. I guess that's the humans in this giant analogy that I'm about to give you.
Yeah.
So yeah, dude, we had 2 badass steaks, incredibly well prepared. I watched him do it the whole thing. It was great. Cast iron skillet, spices, herbs. Tantalizing. Yes, parsley, sage, and I don't think he hit them all. I forget. Anyways,
Bernays or no Bernays?
no Bernays. No Bernays. Didn't need it, to be honest with you.
I mean,
it didn't need anything.
Listen,
I didn't put any sauce on it. This was just...
You didn't have any of my steak at New Year's, but I'm telling you.
You're getting me off topic.
You got to go back and have some and see if it compares to
I will
Brendan's.
be going back to that place for sure. We have that. Decent glass of red wine. It was all right. We immediately switched to White Zombie, this podcast. Once again, brought to you by White Zombie IPA. Good beer. Go
Who's
check
the
it
brewer? Who brews it?
That is from Catawba Brewery.
Okay.
Right here in sunny Charleston, South Carolina.
All right.
I think. Catawba?
Catawba. Isn't that like its own place here?
Definitely a Native American name.
Native American tribe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Okay, we're looking here. We're looking.
And,
we're exploring the can.
Yeah, it's nice and
Explore
purple.
the space.
Yes. Feel it out. It
I
wants
guess you got to look them up. It does. I believe they are South Carolina based.
That would sound... that makes sense to me. Maybe like a Myrtle Beach area, maybe?
Yes.
Who knows?
It's good. Anyways, we proceed to watch Godzilla vs. Kong on... He has a very nice flat screen.
Yeah.
I believe we were watching in 4K.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken. And I tell you, about 20 minutes into this thing, right around the time that they're gearing up for the first bout, right around the time that Kong's about to just deck Godzilla right in the face on that aircraft carrier, I turn to Brendan and I say, "This is great, but I think we made a mistake. I think we should have seen this on the big screen." But on that flat screen, gorgeous presentation. I had an absolute blast with this movie. I don't know about you.
No, listen, my little tiny regular Vizio, no 4K, whatever, that's done the trick for years, perfectly fine. I guess it was like, from what Perk was telling me, it's about like $200, I guess. You could rent out a space through, I don't know what he was doing, because we tried to do it like a couple days later after it came out, and it just like, by the time he was like, I was like, yeah, I can get off work and be back, or be up at AMC by the mall, like, by the time you guys get up here. I think he like went back to check and they were all sold out, because he was going to do it on like Friday night. Because I was wanting to see like how many people, what's the parameters, because to me, I feel like you could have maybe survived or brought in a little bit of money if you'd have moved to that model instead of we're closing up shop. Like maybe rent them out as like private viewings, and in the meantime, enough to where like you could have people, when somebody gets there, they all get checked for their temperature. When before we started, I mean, I'm talking like the day they said we're done, and you could have had some revenue, maybe at least, maybe not a ton, but at least make a little bit of operating costs, so you're not like in the red the entire time. You know that the whole as a franchise. Like I know Regal said they're going to be opening up again soon. You know, further and further, but I mean, you and I both saw movies during quote unquote pandemic quarantine from a non, big three company. So that's cool.
I haven't been in a bit. I do want to catch Nobody, the Odenkirk movie.
Oh, dude,
but
that came out of nowhere. I can't even find it streaming.
It's not. I mean, it's not.
I know that's the best part. It's like it's only in theaters,
and I feel like it did well its weekend, but like comparatively, Kong, I think worldwide made like 50 mil.
Yeah.
Granted, they had like a 5-day weekend because they open on a Wednesday.
But they also released in China first, right?
But I don't even think this 53 was part of that total.
Oh, okay, good.
Yet. So I think it's even done better than that already.
Oh, I'm sure.
But yeah, so I'm considering also, I do want to go see Nobody, but I'm also considering going to see this again on the big screen.
Of course,
just for the spectacle of it all.
Yeah, I definitely want to.
If you want to talk about like any of the human characters or any of the plot or the narrative around this movie, we can. I thought it was completely superfluous and like it didn't need any of it. I was not invested in anybody. I do have one question. Did you watch Godzilla King of the Monsters?
Yes.
Okay. Did I miss like a shit ton of world building? Because I definitely felt like being thrust into this, having not seen that. I saw Skull Island, which of course is like set several decades prior to any of this.
And literally the only King Kong thing you have is like Godzilla had the Cranston one that did I enjoyed that in the theaters.
Did not like it.
Yeah,
Huge disappointment.
It wasn't like the best. It wasn't. It was more Godzilla 2000, a lot less Godzilla 98.
For me, huge disappointment based on a fantastic trailer, which I was very hyped for, and Cranston, which I was very hyped for at the time. It did not deliver to the point that I skipped the next one.
Right.
Which I've heard is okay. I haven't heard anybody say, like, you gotta see this. But I was kind of like, okay, if I had seen that, would I be a little more invested on the ground level human character stuff? Because I just really wasn't. It was nice having all those people around, I guess. I enjoyed most of the actors that are in this movie. But I could care less about literally any of them. But when this movie has Godzilla and King Kong fighting each other, it's about as good as like a blockbuster spectacle, like why you go to these types of movies, that it can be.
Yeah.
And it's like, I guess you need all of that other stuff, but there is the part of me that's like, can we just make an hour and a half essentially not silent, but like dialogueless film where you just visually tell me, like, I don't need you to explain, here's a magical axe that is powered by the same energy that Godzilla breathes. Like, you can just show it to me. You don't have to, like, give me this whole lore and backstory. You can just be like, hey, King Kong, here, he found an axe. Hey, Godzilla can charge this axe. They're buddies now? They're friends? Okay. Also, when Brennan and I sit down, he's like, who you got, man?
Oh, God.
Who you got? And I was like, I mean, honestly, going into this, Kong, because I loved Skull Island, and I thought the Godzilla reboot was not great. So I'm like, obviously Kong, man. But I told him from the get-go, I said, I'm telling you now, though, neither one of them will win. Neither one of them is going to win. I was like, if anything, I said this before, like, the credits are starting. I was like, if anything, they'll do a Batman versus Superman thing, and these guys are going to fight each other a couple times, and you know what they're going to realize at the end of the day? Hey, we're kind of on the same side. There's bigger fish to fry. Right. We got to go fight this thing. And I was like, that's probably what it's going to be. Now, even having that at the outset, I'm dumb, because obviously this is like screenwriting 101 if you're doing this movie. When they reveal that Mecha Godzilla is at play, and that's going to be the thing that they're going to have to fight in the end, I literally jumped off the couch and cheered. I was like, yes. Yeah, this is how you do this.
Yes.
And that was most of the movie, again, when Kong and Godzilla are on screen, was me just like on the edge of my seat, like, this is glorious, dude. Incredible CG. They did not skimp whatsoever. Nope. And Adam Wingard, I gotta hand it off to, dude. The action direction, the fluid camera throughout this, where you just kind of like flow through the fight scenes. And I thought personally they managed to like maintain the sense of scale and all of that, and really haven't seen it paralleled since the OG Pacific Rim. Right. That was the last time I was like truly impressed by like,
there was a second
oh my
Pacific
God,
Rim.
The fusion of like CG and everything that they're doing here, but also just the sheer scale of it really plays even on a small screen. Because we've talked about movie, to bring up Snyder again from a couple weeks ago's episode, whatever we want to call it. Like 300 is a movie I've talked about where it's like in the theater, incredible, like rousing experience the first time seeing it. And the first time I got it home on DVD, it was just like, oh, this just got like close to halved in terms of my like experience, just right off the bat. And you start to notice more, you're just like, this is meant to be seen this way, and that's pretty much it. But this, I was like, I do want to go to theaters possibly. And at the very least, while it's still on HBO Max and free, I'm probably going to go back to some of these sequences and basically do my like greatest hits, because the aircraft carrier sequence, incredible. We clocked it, we literally like paused it. It was like, dude, 20 minutes in, they're getting to a fight, we're on the right track. Like, they're doing this right.
Did you play a drinking game and all during this? Like, I feel like you should have done that.
Yes, in retrospect, that would have been fun. and we should have also chosen sides, except we both agreed we were like, Kong, dude. Like, we're pulling for Kong. And it ends up being, this is very much Skull Island 2 guest starring Godzilla.
Well, you need that because there is no build-up. There is not 2 movies to go to say this.
Right.
Because,
it needs to be more of his movie,
because
arguably.
The thing I will tell you about King of the Monsters is that there's a big trepidation about, like, okay, what do we do with him? Because, like, we are kind of in agreement that, like, he doesn't come after us. He doesn't want to hurt us. He is our protector, so to speak. But if he's here, anything else that may want to mess with us could be here. So you have...
So does that movie set up this whole Hollow Earth concept and, like, this is the origin point of all the monsters? Or is that unique to this movie?
The King of the Monsters says that they come from somewhere we don't know. There may be a reference to it because I watched that.
So when we jump to it in this, like, we've made a leap forward in terms of understanding.
It sets the premise for why that guy is inside the giant skull, hooked up to it. That is a one of the 3-headed beasts that he fought in the last movie.
Ghidorah.
Yeah, that.
Ghidorah. Yes. Okay. So again, I don't. You don't totally need to explain to me how you get to the point where, like, the remnant spirit of Ghidorah imbues Mechagodzilla with the ability to fight without a pilot, essentially. Like, again, you can just show that to me. You don't have to, like, tell me that that's what's happening. But, like, I also didn't care how they got there. But the fact that, like, oh, dude, it made me want to go back and watch this movie, which I had no interest in prior. And it also makes me want to go back and watch Skull Island. But my other question to you, did we jump, like, a bit in the future? Because I also did stop at one point about, an hour and 40 into this and look at Brandon. I was just like, dude, what year are we in? Because the tech that they're, like, flying around in, I'm like, all of a sudden it looks like cyberpunk or something like that, And I'm just like, did I miss, like, this is in a different time, and, like, Kong is eternal, so it's fine that, like, he was in the 70s and shit, like, in Skull Island. And then...
I believe that if I'm not mistaken, there might have been, like, a deleted scene or, like, an end capper in King of the Monsters that showed...
That teases Godzilla, or
teases
Kong, rather, excuse me.
Because, like, where you meet Kong in that containment area, you don't know where he comes from Skull Island. Either they just scooped up Skull Island and put it on this thing and it wasn't as big as we thought, or they've captured him somehow. But I think in the plot, they say something about, like, when the wave came and, like, went to the island, it destroyed everybody but the little girl. So maybe, like, Godzilla's ascendance caused massive chaos on Skull Island, which caused Kong to...
Very Batman v Superman.
Right, yeah. It caused him to, have to leave.
I just like the idea that Warner Brothers is just, like, cannibalizing its own movies for its big IP stuff. They're just like, we'll just riff on that a little bit.
Yeah.
I had a blast with it, but I was going to ask you, like, aircraft carrier, or the final set piece, which I love. It was like, oh, there's 30 minutes left, and we're, like, gearing up. I'm like, it's just going to be one big final battle.
Yeah.
Like, this is great. But yeah, in Hong Kong, just the crazy neon skyline. Like, I loved all of that, but I thought both were, like, superb action filmmaking sequences, like blockbuster movie sequences, the likes of which I haven't been, like, that wowed by something, especially on my TV.
Yeah.
In a while. I was rather blown away by it. My only, like, knocks against the movie are just, like, I don't need all of these human characters, and I don't need, like, here's the ones on Godzilla's side, and I know you feel like you need them, and therefore you have to give them stuff to do in the midst of these battles, which seems like, how about let them fight? Like, just back off.
Oh yeah, no,
guys.
Ken Watanabe was perfect in
in
the original Godzilla.
Yes.
The idea that the kid from Deadpool 2 is there just to throw coke on a computer blows your mind. Now, the thing I did appreciate, because I love an eccentric bad guy, is the dude from The Bridge.
Dude, Demian Bashir.
Any movie, dude. I'm like, give me... But the thing I appreciate is, what's his... Paperboy. I fucking love that he was in this movie.
Again, no, and he was great. Solid. But I also was just like, I wish...
If it wasn't him, I would be on the board with you saying don't need him because I want him to be seen more by people.
Well,
and I want him to be in a big budget movie so that people be like, who is that dude?
Consistently had bigger and bigger moments. And that's, but yes, no, to the point where I wish I was like, if anything, we just need to like trim the fat on this a bit, like make him more of a central character. Do we need 5 or 6 different people on each side, all with like different stuff going on? Skarsgård,
I mean, when does he not do it for me?
I mean, but he is totally in like the comedic, over the top version of this movie, which does not totally mesh with like Rebecca Hall, who's taking it 100% serious.
Right.
Like, God bless her, but yeah. So, but just great moments throughout where it's like we could just sit here and be like, oh, it was really cool when he punched him in the face. It was really cool when he popped his shoulder back into place.
Oh, dude,
it was really cool
when he does
that.
Yeah,
it was like one of the single coolest things I've seen in a movie in a long time. Where I was just like,
is he fucking Riggs from Lethal Weapon? Is this what we're doing right now?
So great.
McAllister, who's next? Like, just No, and the thing is like for my takeaway was that since I had Skull Island, which is
fucking rocks,
is a perfect movie if you ask me.
I think is still superior to this simply because the human characters in that are all fun. It is such a fun adventure.
It knows what it is. Yes,
they're all archetypes and some are stereotypes, but like they work for what I want from one of these action movies. Where it's like they don't need to be like super well defined and have all these motivations. Just give me likable movie stars being movie stars and keep it moving. And Skull Island does such a good job of that. But it's funny and it's fun. And there's not a ton of like that side in this movie. It's definitely more like we're taking this fucking seriously. You get a little bit of banter with like Brian Tyree Henry and the kids essentially. You get a little bit of lightness to break it up, but it's more heavy in tone than Skull Island, which is just a fun adventure movie, and another one I regretted not seeing in the theater.
Me too.
Yeah.
Because I the whole time watching it, I'm thinking, I don't remember ever really being into monster movies, creature features, any of that kind of stuff. I just feel like, not that I'm not allowed to like them or anything like an indie movie. I just feel like I just missed the boat on like, the old 50s, like giant ants and like all this stuff, like the monster movie. I just feel like I missed it.
It's not a genre. It's not a genre I go back to.
Because like what's really entertaining is like the 70s Kong with Jeff Bridges
and Jessica Lange.
Yeah, that's like and maybe it's because it's inherently. It's got that spirit of like adventure with the Kong stuff of like we're going on this tiny thing to go to this island to find this 8th wonder of the world. Whereas like obviously if you don't know, Godzilla's born out of like Japanese fear of the atomic bomb essentially. If you want to break it down in a nutshell. Like so, but the idea that like that thing coming from the water could be our protector, that's cool. But like if anything's coming out of the water, I want it to be Cthulhu. And like that would have made the movie. That would have bumped my movie from an 8 to an 8.5. If they
have to fight Cthulhu.
No. If Cthulhu would just have been a marker, like on the wall in the upside down, the hollow earth,
right?
Because as we all know, Cthulhu was cast out and put on Earth, and basically dwells underneath all this.
That would have been a nice teaser.
That would have been great.
But apparently, we're not. I am curious if after the success of this one. Because they said they were like, oh, this is it. Like, this is the capper for our Monsterverse. Like, we brought them together. You got to see them fight for a little bit, and then they fought Mechagodzilla. Like, what else? What else do you want from us? Basically, we've covered all the bases. He fought all the other monsters in the previous movie.
Right.
So they've said it's done. I am curious if like maybe we get another Kong movie because it's so much more Kong centric than it is Godzilla, to the point where I'm just like, dude, give me another movie with this guy. And please make it an hour and a half long and have no dialogue. Just the girl who does sign language with him. Just give me subtitles, man. Like, that's all I want.
Give me old 30 silent movie cards. Like, that's fine with me. Yeah. Why not?
But yeah, I need more of this guy in my life. Love Kong. Love him.
Long live the king.
Great representation here. Yeah, he was fantastic.
You think he got paid scale or per diem or what?
Probably a little bit of both.
Okay.
Lots of bananas.
I'm sure. Yeah.
A ton.
Speaking of
as
bananas.
many trees as he could devour.
Right. That is the thing I do love about him is like when he's in the Hollow Earth and he's just like he kills the shit and he's like, I'm gonna eat this thing. I don't know, man. I don't know if I like. All right, fuck. This is all right for me. And he just watching that interaction. It's like I could literally follow the way the camera follows him. I could follow that. Like, just a day of him just getting up, scratching his ass while you know. When he's eating the fish.
I have no idea behind the scenes wise, but like I plan on getting the Blu-ray at some point. I assume we'll get to see some of this. But I was curious. I was like, is this some form of motion capture in some of the fight sequences? Because if it's not, and they're animating this essentially from scratch, holy shit! Like it definitely will be in the visual effects category. This coming,
I'm sure.
This coming Oscars, not this one, but
you get the Blu-ray and it's just Andy Serkis.
He's like, fooled you again.
Yep,
it was me the whole time.
All right, mate.
I did all of them. He's like, I literally did all of them.
Yeah.
I was just fighting with myself. That would be fantastic. I had a blast with it. It's on HBO Max for like 20 more days, I think. If you haven't watched it yet, we hugely endorse it. If you can go see it safely in a theater,
yeah, definitely
go for it. Definitely worth the price of admission.
And see,
again,
I don't.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I don't know. I don't think that it's. I don't mean COVID aside. I think this would, regardless, would be a push for. You gotta see this in theaters. I think this and maybe a handful of other movies in the past couple years, I've kicked myself for not going to see in theaters, because if you look at it, it is sort of like an event thing, and it could potentially bring a bunch of people together because you have people that are our age that like we know about King Kong in the 70s and the 2005 Peter Jackson and Skull Island, and theoretically in this time frame we could have had children to bring, because I don't feel like it's anything too much that a kid couldn't go just to be like, oh look, it's Kong, it's Godzilla, you know. It's still I don't want to sound like it's hokey or like it's something, but it's one of those that I look at like that's why we still have theaters. That's why we still make things to be seen on a big screen, because it lends itself to that, you know? Like, again, I saw Synchronic on a small screen or on a theater screen, and I could have just as easily seen it on at home, but I enjoyed the visuals, the way that movie is shot and the way it looks.
For everybody listening right now, Synchronic, which appeared, I know, on your year-end list and was, I think, on my honorable mentions, it's on Netflix now.
Oh, okay, good.
So if you held out and didn't shill out the money earlier, you can go watch it on Netflix.
Good.
I think they were, very smartly, they were like, oh, everybody's over on Disney Plus checking out Anthony Mackie. You know what? They got to wait a week for a new episode. So we're going to throw up Synchronic. We're going to get them back over here on Netflix in the meantime.
That's he's got like 2 or 3 out on Netflix.
I hope
right
that
now.
is going to... Yeah, I didn't watch the kind of futuristic sci-fi one with him and like an AI.
Yeah.
That was like February of this year.
Right,
I think.
yeah.
Totally. Yeah, I skipped that one. I thought that would be something you'd check out and tell me either hey, do it.
Yeah,
or
I need to.
It's
so much Anthony Mackie in the last couple months, man.
Yeah.
He's killing it.
Yeah, so I think that caps off Skull Island. Do you want to talk Falcon and Winter Soldier while we're at it?
Yeah, we can. I've been
you caught
weekly.
up?
Yeah, I'm all caught up.
All right. How are you feeling? You enjoying it?
I am loving Wyatt Russell.
It's
John Walker.
Of course.
As soon as I saw the face, I was like, that looks like. Oh,
if anything, God, I'm just disappointed that we only have 3 more episodes, and like, how much more can we get of him?
How many? They're only doing 6.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I mean, they're like 45 minutes. They're definitely longer than.
Oh, they are. You're right. That is. They are an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, I said it the other day. If this is how you want to inform me while I'm not watching movies, this is how you do it. Because
I almost texted you when I finally did watch it, because we recorded Justice League.
Right.
And I still didn't get to it until I think the Sunday after that. Mm-hmm. Finally throw on the first episode. And that first 15-minute action sequence, I was going to text you after I finished it and just be like, that literally kicked the shit out of everything in the entire 4-hour and 2-minute runtime of Zack Snyder's Justice League. From a pure action storytelling perspective, I was like, not that we constantly need to pit DC versus Marvel. Like, we don't have to.
But we should.
When we do, it's very hard to be like, oh, well, there's things I like about both, but like, you know what? At the end of the day, they're kind of even. They're really not. They're really not. They're literally giving you like what could be the climax of any of their feature films.
Right.
In the first 15 minutes of their streaming show.
Mm-hmm.
All of the money on the screen. Fantastic action spectacle. And I was just like, it was another one where I kind of just wanted to, like, you know, at 2:30 a.m. just stand up and cheer in the middle of my apartment after I finished it, where I was just like, again, I hadn't even finished the episode. I was just like,
you didn't get to the best part.
What a breathless opening. And then, and then I loved, we're not even gonna put them together.
Nope. We didn't see each other the first episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciated that.
But yeah, loving Wyatt Russell. Agreed.
I mean, because I didn't look at anything about the movie. I just literally was
had no idea when
the show.
And to the point, dude, when he popped up at the end of the episode, I was like, okay, who the fuck is that guy? And then, only a few days later, I started seeing, like, fans react to Wyatt Russell's Captain America, and I'm like, what? Wait, what? And I was like, oh, I know that chin. I know that chin profile. You look like your dad when you have that thing on. Mm-hmm. It was like, dude, this is if Kurt Russell had played Captain America instead of Matt Salinger back in the day.
Yeah, exactly.
This is what that would have looked like.
Well, no, because, like, I noticed, I saw the like, when they did the, I don't know if they put his credit in the first movie or the first credit sequences, but they showed a picture of him, and for a minute I thought it was Matt Smith from Doctor Who. Gotcha, I was like, who is? And I had to go look, and I was like, holy fucking shit, it's Wyatt Russell. Because, I mean, in my opinion, if you want to tie it into something that has nothing to do with it, they fished John Walker out of wherever the hell Wyatt Russell wound up in Overlord, and he's back from the dead, and he's had the super soldier serum the entire time.
I thought you were going to connect it to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, but okay.
Oh, yeah, you could do that. But
secretly, he's got, like, the powers of a living planet.
He just doesn't know it.
He's the bastard child of ego. I don't know.
He hasn't been pushed to the limit yet. He doesn't know.
He's the other,
Yeah.
He's Peter Quill's evil twin, who's now Captain America.
Right.
That could have been interesting.
Well, because, like, I know at some point, I don't know if there was a writing campaign, but I know that Captain America Steve Rogers gives up the moniker and gives up the shield as Captain America. And then it's like a fake assassination. I know at some point Bucky Barnes takes up the mantle as Captain America.
There's been
so many iterations. But I love that they put that into this show because it allows you to let Chris Evans leave and be like, damn, I'm not making that money. What did I do? I'm walking away from this. I am Captain America. How fucking stupid am I? I'll come back because from what I remember reading a couple months ago, it was like, he's probably going to come back whenever they do whatever they're going to do again. But he just likes to talk about how, like, oh, it's a lot of time and this. It's like, dude, you are Captain America. You're no more. You're not Jakey about to make a big mistake anymore from not another T movie. You're fucking Steve Rogers, Captain America. Live it, own it. Who cares? Do it. Just do it.
I would love for him to return, but him returning also means something that I've talked about with several other people off mic. I don't know if you and I have ever really directly addressed it, but I'm like, we've been living in a comic book movie world for quite some time.
Right.
And I wonder if the final threshold for when that starts to not dwindle, but just dim a little bit, lose a little bit of the initial, like, everybody's going out opening weekend, the broad mass appeal where you've got, like, grandmas that have watched all of the MCU, is when you start to remove all sense of stakes from it.
Right.
Because as soon as you bring back Cap, it's like, hey, by the way, if you've ever read a comic book, continuity does not matter. None of these stories have any actual endpoint. Anything can be undone or redone or remixed however the fuck we see fit. And it's like, as they continue to make these movies more like comic books, will eventually the people who don't read comic books and aren't invested in this type of storytelling, eventually are some people going to check out when they're like, oh, well, this is just like, I thought we had a nice, clean, overarching 23 movie, like, saga. But now with this multiverse stuff, like, I don't know where I'm going. I feel like some people, if anybody's gonna tap out, it's gonna be in the early goings of this next movie phase. With Eternals, Doctor Strange 2.
No. But Black Widow is going to be the test, because if no one goes to see Black Widow, COVID aside, if it does not make or have a significant impact at all, that's where you'll start to see the effect wear off, because everybody who loves these movies is going into this movie asking the same question: how does this fit into anything else I've seen? When does this happen?
Movie?
Why now? Okay, yeah, you let DC beat you with Wonder Woman, first female superhero and first female big director of one, great, and we all talk about how the first Wonder Woman, really great, really good movie. I enjoyed it, but now you're giving me a character who, if I'm going on your big timeline, I'm not supposed to care about because they're already dead. So if you don't give me a way to like fix all this, then
well, I mean, for me as just the moviegoer, not the like fan of this stuff. Mm-hmm. The simple fact that we have David Harbour,
yes,
Scarlett Johansson, and most importantly Florence Pugh in this movie,
and Rachel Weisz, right?
Rachel Weisz, excuse me, how can I forget?
Who's probably going to be Taskmaster.
But yes, that's the attraction level for me.
Oh, yeah, of course.
On this, where I'm just like, I just want to see all these actors. So it's like, where it connects in the larger universe, I don't care.
Yeah, me neither.
I literally don't care. But yeah, I think you're right. It'll be interesting to see how it plays, and especially given that, like, okay, Godzilla versus Kong comes out, did really well, best anything's done in a while, but they have already announced Black Widow is $30 Disney Plus Premiere Access when it comes out. It will be in theaters as well. And it's like, that seems to make sense of like split the difference. Like, some people are still going to want to stay home and aren't going to want to do the large crowds, but there was part of me that it's like, oh, are they looking at the success and going, hey, maybe we nix the Disney thing and like we just go all theatrical and see if we can like bump those numbers up even higher, because at the end of the day, we're Marvel. That's Warner Brothers. Like, yeah. That's how I feel like they look at all this shit. Mm-hmm. And just the one-upsmanship. I wonder if splitting, because I don't know if they reported like their numbers for like Mulan and stuff like that. And I'm telling you right now, I'm not paying $30 for Black Widow. I'll go see it in a theater for a third of the price. Yeah. But I'm not going to drop $30 for it.
You won't. But no. I'm saying families
and people who want to rewatch it immediately.
But let's just say this: if you, me, and Brendan throw $10 at Disney, guess what? The three of us could go sit and watch it together. You can make 3 steaks instead of 2. Yeah, right. I get to enjoy one.
There we go.
Or we go to the Fat Hen first, and we test him out. I don't have to test his. I can just eat another Fat Hen steak.
All right.
And then we can go back to
wherever. I'm liking where this is headed. I think we're making
that's what I'm saying.
plans.
It's like it works because that's the thing you're thinking is like, oh, it's $30, but like if it's 10, 15, 12, whatever a ticket, that's one person's viewing.
Right.
So I mean, I don't know. They don't have, from what I understand, there is no rights the way that like an MMA fight is, because when you buy an MMA fight, you buy it on screen. So if you're in a bar and like 3 screens have this fight, that's 3 times they've paid whatever the MMA price is. And usually it's like fucking $50-$60. A bar can do that no problem.
Right.
Whereas you have one person pay $60 in a household, they've got 20-30 people sitting around watching it. So the idea that, oh, it's $30, yeah, it's $30, but like if you have a buddy who's been, quarantined forever, has a dope movie room in his house, and he trusts everybody to come over and they're not going to bring any COVID with them, hey, $30 is nothing. And they're going to lose. They would lose solely doing $30 on Disney Plus.
Right.
At least this gives them the revenue of, hey, we'll get something from it. And again, at the end of the day, they're not hurting for it because it's Disney. I mean, the day Disney's hurting, that's when the real Hunger Games are going to start, because they're just going to stop. They're just going to call in all their debts. They're going to be them, Johnson & Johnson, and Viacom. Unless Disney owns Viacom, which I think they do, so never mind. It'd be Disney, Johnson & Johnson.
Pfizer.
And
General Electric. They're in there somewhere.
Yeah.
They kind of faded to the background.
J.P. Morgan Chase and Rockefeller, whatever his shit is. I don't know what he owned.
Bezos.
And Bezos, yes. Yeah. Oh, of course, and Zuckerberg.
Speaking of Bezos, we'll keep it somewhat current. And then eventually we'll transition into just whatever rewatches. All right, have you checked out any of Invincible on Amazon Prime?
No, I've not. I see you have been.
Okay. I recommend you check it out.
Okay.
I don't know your familiarity level. It's based on a Robert Kirkman comic, which I've read.
That is his other one. That's
read
right.
like 2 or 3 trades. Enjoyed it, but didn't stick with it forever. That's how I am with comics in general these days. But incredible voice cast. Oscar nominee Stephen Yeun is the lead. You got J.K. Simmons, Sandra Oh, Walton Goggins, John Hamm. It's a crazy cast.
Was this on the level, or was this a hey, we can put this together real quick because of COVID?
Oh, this was coming. This has been in the works
that's
for a
what
while.
I'm just curious.
The animation is great. I mean, it looks like the comic book, and not to spoil it for you again. I mean, he did The Walking Dead. It is incredibly violent.
Oh, good.
Because we're animation, I think we can outdo the boys with our level of violence. And it's very much very referential and reverential of the entire just comics of it all across both DC and Marvel. But you have stand-ins essentially for the Justice League, where it's I can tell based on the way that these people are dressed and their color coordination what their power set is without
having to be told
that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And just great references playing with it, but it's not winky at the same time, if that makes sense. It's this is the universe of this show. You bring to it your comics knowledge.
Right.
But the show is not actively winking at you, I think, in the way that The Boys is sometimes, which I love about it.
Yeah.
But it's you would sit there and think okay, 2 kind of adult superhero shows, both on Amazon, why would they pay for both these other than the fact that one's animation, one's live action? But they accomplish different goals in different ways, I guess is what I'm saying. It's I feel like people who are may look at it and be oh, I don't know about this. It's its own thing. I'm only 2 episodes deep. There's 4 up so far. Mm-hmm. But I challenge you to get to the end of this pilot and not want to
watch everyone,
because it managed to pull off visually in the show the way that early seasons of The Walking Dead and frankly reading The Walking Dead actually does, where it's you feel the momentum building in the last few pages of an issue or a chapter or section if you're reading a trade paperback, and all of a sudden it's just panel, mind blown, holy shit, was not expecting that. And they managed to do that at the end of this pilot in such a way where I was just dude, that's one of those, that's an all-timer scene immediately where I'm just holy shit, that was fucking great.
Okay.
And immediately hooked me into watching more of it. It comes out every Friday. I think we got 10 total. They released 3 initially, and there's been 1 Friday that's passed since. So, but I'm taking it at a gingerly pace, but I probably, if more of them release and then I have a bunch to binge, I probably will. But it's good. And it's if I'm not mistaken, they're 45-minute episodes as well. They're not, it's not short form. It's not 22-minute episodes or anything. Good stuff. Recommend it. That's Invincible on Amazon Prime. And you can jump in wherever. That's pretty much all of our... I'm sure we'll have some other newish stuff to talk about. But basically, if you want to tune out, you're more than welcome to. We love you guys. But I think the rest of this episode is just going to be a bunch of what we've been watching.
Yeah,
and we'll see where it goes.
I got a few rees, but I got a ton of new stuff.
All right, well, I'm into it. Hit me with whatever you want to. But yeah, if you are tuning out now, make sure to rejoin us later this month for Super Mario Brothers X Michael Clayton on our latest 2x2 retro review. Looking forward to it. 2 great picks from our lovely listeners and Instagram followers. Speaking of which, follow us on Instagram at the ARK of E Network. Email us with any suggestions. thearkofe@gmail.com. We're on Twitter at the ARK of E, and also on Facebook, which Gavin handles. Just search for the ARK of E.
Indeed.
All right. Shall we? Lay it on me, this monstrous list.
Oh, okay. All right. So let's go with rewatches first.
Okay.
Because it's pretty short.
Fair enough.
First rewatch up on the list is going to be a little movie called Dread, which I heard that there's some kind of production on another Dread-centric thing that doesn't have him in focus, but it does deal in Mega City 1 or something like that. People want Carl Urban to be back in it. He's ready for it. We need a fucking sequel. That movie is amazing.
The fact that we didn't get one is pretty incredible. Now, granted, it's just the Raid with Judge Dredd.
Right.
What you would have to complain about within that,
Nothing.
I have no idea.
Literally nothing.
Great movie. I've been meaning to rewatch it myself. It's actually saved on... Did you watch it on Prime?
Yeah.
I was going to say it's either on Prime or Max, but I have it saved in a queue right now because I was like, it's been quite a while. But yeah, another one. Did not see it in the theater. Totally regret it, and it's just definitely a cult movie at this point. But that was the start of fucking Carl Urban, who now, thanks to The Boys, everybody's in love with again. But that was the first time post Lord of the Rings and kind of him milling around in movies for quite a while, but never really popping. Mm-hmm. Dread was the first time with, again, most of his face not visible, where it was just like, dude, he's fucking great. He's so good. Because the Chronicles of Riddick was not doing it, bro.
No. And the fact that, he has that push, I'm thinking, if he gets the green light, give me a 10-episode, not even Origins. Just give me 10 episodes, different shit that he's dealing with. The first 3 are precarious. The next 3 set up the final 3 in a big finale. It's that simple. You walk around with him for a few episodes. You sit the rumblings of this thing going on in the background. You get the stakes amped up, and then you hit a big finale with a don't we get the bad guy and come back next season. It's that simple. I mean, right?
Dread is definitely one of those I think would function well as a TV show, for sure.
With the shit they're putting up on Netflix, I don't see why Amazon... And again, I was going to say, Amazon just spent all that money.
Bring back RoboCop while we're at it.
Yeah.
Demolition Man, for that matter.
Yeah. Why not?
Okay.
They just spent all that money on two things with Chris Pratt coming out. They have the Tomorrow War, and then they have another... It's based off a book.
Oh, I will tease this while we were still talking about Amazon for a second.
What's that?
Have you seen the trailer for Without Remorse?
Yes.
With Mr. Michael B. Jordan?
We
will definitely be covering that either at the end of this month or into next month.
I cannot wait for that movie.
But yeah, I'm pretty excited as well.
Yeah. I'm really... we are
That's
covering...
our first big Prime release of the year.
Right. We are covering
mostly
the
HBO
Creed
Max
movies in this.
So this has been the debate, and here's the thing with the 2x2 with the Cousins Blanchard. It's the Karate Kid versus Rocky, the first in each franchise, but I feel like it's impossible to have that conversation without bringing the franchise into it. So what I have said to them independently is we're definitely going to leave room for a debate over the merits of the individual franchises.
Daniel versus Adonis versus Rocky.
Sure, I mean, we can do all of that as well.
Versus Drago.
But 100% what I think we agreed across the board with the Cousins and with Mom, who got involved with this as well.
Mom did get involved.
Which is 100%, yes, Creed 1 and Creed 2 are definitely a part of the franchise. You got to count them. Mm-hmm. And when you do that, even we said going into this, I'm on Team Karate Kid, obviously. I think we both are. But when you do that and you include Creed 1 and Creed 2, yes, you have more movies from one franchise, flat out, even if you include 3 seasons of Cobra Kai.
Right.
But it's hard to argue that the 3 best movies in the Rocky franchise don't beat out the 3 best movies in the Karate Kid franchise. I will admit that. It's very difficult. Because I would say that's Rocky, Creed, and Rocky Balboa.
See,
those 3 are pretty fucking tough to beat in my book.
I never saw Rocky. Movies. I haven't seen Rocky Balboa.
Saw it in the theater with Mom.
Yeah, I remember.
great time. Great time. She's 100%. She's like, Rocky, how dare you even? And then she asked me, she said, are you saying Karate Kid based on Cobra Kai? And I was like, well, I mean, no, I'm not. But yeah, I guess I am at the same time, where it's like, no, I still would judge Karate Kid better. But it's like when I bring Cobra Kai into the conversation, like, it does make me like the franchise just a little bit more. It's like, it's the one I grew up with. I love both. But she quickly was like, well, I guess I need to watch this here Cobra Kai and decide for myself.
Well, hopefully she does.
Like, Mom, we've been telling you to watch it for 3 years.
Yes.
What are you doing?
You heard Dad say Banshee one time and you were on board. Right. We've been telling you fucking Cobra Kai for 3 years.
Sorry, we don't have the eye candy of Anthony Starr.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Zabka, pretty good looking man these days.
Especially those. I mean, did you not see his headshots in the last season? The photos he should just hand out to women. I mean, come on.
It's awesome. Okay. What else you got for me?
Rewatch Avengers Endgame simply to just get ready for
Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah,
you got to see where the boys are at.
Yeah,
emotionally speaking.
Exactly. Yeah. Assault on Precinct 13, the remake. Just do it on one night.
We always back in the day, children, we hosted a podcast called Carpenter Revisited, and one of the things we always talked about was if we ever come back to this or do more content, we would do all of the remakes.
Yeah.
And go back through them and do a versus episode essentially and kind of like break them down.
Are you talking all the remakes of Rio Bravo, or are you talking all the remakes of Carpenter's
movies?
Because that was like a fucking. I did that for a class one time. I was like, we just remake X, Y, and Z, and Rio Bravo was it. I was like, Rio Bravo is Assault on Precinct 13, which is basically Rio Bravo and A Night of the Living Dead, and then you have essentially Carpenter remaking himself, with Ghost of Mars. Which, then again, I mean, the premise is simple. Maybe that's why it's timeless and people do it all the time. I just think that the original, when it comes to the two, you can't beat Napoleon Wilson as a on-screen villain. I mean, that's the first villain, I think, in movies where you're like, this guy's a bad dude, but I fucking like him, I mean, obviously there's others, I'm sure, but like in the pantheon of like seeing people, it's like...
He's your first anti-hero.
He's like Hans Gruber. Hans Gruber's the first I see.
Okay.
And then like I get to Hannibal Lecter after that, and then it's Napoleon Wilson. It's like, these three people who are like, they're not good guys, but like, God, you love to watch them. I fucking like that. There's a twinkle in their eye. You're like, holy shit, what's behind that? But anyway, yeah. Assault on Precinct 13, the remake.
I bring that up to say that would still be a fun thing to do at some point, even though it would involve watching the Fog remake.
I saw that twice in theaters, Noah. Not going to lie to you.
I wouldn't mind going back to the Thing remake to reassess, because I feel like I was very hard on it the first time.
It's not a remake, it's a prequel.
Yes, excuse me.
Just
all of the Carpenter adjacent properties.
Yes.
Okay.
Slackers, Devon Sawa. Fun comedy. One of my favorites of that era. And The Mummy Returns was a rewatch.
Okay.
I don't know what happened to that franchise. I don't know if it was What's-Her-Face leaving it, but the first Mummy and The Mummy Returns are just really good movies, man.
The first one in particular.
Yes.
The second one I dwindle on a little bit.
It loses it towards the back.
It's got a shitty kid problem, but
it's resting on like, well, this was good, right? We'll just stay here, not like let's move forward a little bit.
We do get a little more Oded fare, which I'm a huge. Is that right?
Yeah, that's him.
Did I get it right?
He is a great Magi. We
get more of him, which never a bad thing.
Exactly.
So, I remember watching it in the theater on base, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
With the whole family.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. After The Mummy Returns, my final rewatch is Midnight Special.
Been meaning to do it.
The Midnight Special.
Has it been... That movie's not 10 years old yet. How old? What was that? Was that like 2014?
2014, 2015, somewhere in there.
Eventually you can force me to do it on
dude, it's just a...
Jeff Nichols.
Love him.
If you're listening, Where are you, buddy? What's going on, man?
Maybe he's, you know
Where
what?
you been, buddy?
Maybe him and Richard Kelly are hanging out. Maybe they're working on HBO.
Okay, we are back. Just seconds for you guys, but quite a bit for us. We had some technical difficulties.
But out of that, Noah, was born
Sometimes.
a brilliant idea.
Yes, Gavin had a stroke of genius.
Doesn't happen often, so I got to talk about it whenever I can.
We've previously teased that when our anniversary hits, we're going to premiere some new feeds. You got some new stuff coming from the Brothers Blanchard, our cousins, as well as a new branded feed called the Auteur Arc, which will be the home to our previous director and artist-centric series. So you're going to have Rodriguez Revisited, Manhunters, When the Sun Sets East, and most recently, Rerun the Jewels.
Yes.
Will be over on that feed. And we were like, well, we need something new to kick it off with, right? Like, We've been kind of toying around with what's going to be the thing. We got 2x2 going. People seem to be enjoying that. We got some fan involvement finally, which is great. So we're going to keep that going here on the main feed. But after the anniversary hits, you can look forward to the Shanening. Shanening? Shanening? We're working on it. But what we're trying to fuse
working
together
title.
there...
We're just going to call it working title.
Yes. Is one Mr. Shea Wiggum.
Yes.
And Michael Shannon.
Yes.
Two of our favorite actors who are so active that we realize we've kind of missed like a lot of the last 10 years of their career.
Right.
So Gavin was like, dude, we whittled it down to, we take the ones we haven't seen, we throw them in a hat, essentially. I don't think we're going to go chronological order.
No, it doesn't matter.
But we're going to start with Take Shelter, which I think we figured out is their first movie that they appear in together.
Because even in my stroke of genius, I was like, I mean, they've never been in a movie together, right? And you're like, Take Shelter
and Quarry,
which we have not seen.
Yes.
So I said we throw them in a hat. We watch the ones we haven't seen of each of them. And when we're done with that, we capped it off. Nice endpoint. Assuming they don't do another movie together in the meantime. Quarry, we would finish the run of the series would be ending with us watching and reviewing that by itself.
Which I think might be directed by Shea Wiggum.
I think so. I feel like I remember him saying something about it last time I watched anything with him talking to anyone. I don't know, though. The trailer looked good.
It is not. It is not directed by him. But he is the lead, because I remember thinking, oh, that storyline, Shannon's the lead.
Yeah.
But no, not the case.
Right.
Anyways, so yeah, as with most of our ideas, I think it's good.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear some feedback if you want to let us know what you think.
I think you need to somehow change the audio from "I will find him" to "I will find them," and like make it them, so that like that's just what we play when we start.
Yeah, we're gonna find all those movies that we missed.
Exactly.
There we go. Okay.
Okay.
Let's jump back into the list, and we're just gonna have a little free for all, and then we're gonna get out of here because we delayed the recording time by like half an hour just now.
All right, so I told you, recap real quick. Told you Dread, Endgame, Assault on Precinct 13,
yes.
Slackers.
That's how we got to here.
Midnight Special was the last one. The Hard Way was the last one.
Hell yeah. Still on HBO Max?
Hell yes.
We can't, I feel like that's a movie that has come up at least 5 or 6 times in the history of this podcast. We absolutely love it. The troubled James Woods.
Yes.
And the brilliant Michael J. Fox.
Whoa. Don't forget Stephen Lang.
Excuse me. The party crasher himself.
Yeah.
LL Cool J. Luis Guzman.
Yeah.
Who's the girlfriend?
I don't know.
Oh, she's great. Important. I forget.
You forget Penny Marshall.
Penny Marshall. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, if you've never seen The Hard Way, do yourself a favor.
Definitely. I think when we actually tackle The Hard Way, it should be in lieu of like what are other like buddy cop-esque things to stack up against it.
There's the one with the name escapes me right now, and you probably know it. There's the one with Billy Crystal and I believe Gregory Hines.
Yeah, Running
Scared.
Yeah, we talked about
that.
Which
I've never seen.
Me neither.
Which I've heard is fantastic. I feel like that would be a good pairing.
This was one. I listened to Lou Diamond Phillips on a podcast and instantly Renegades. Have you ever seen it?
No.
Lou Diamond Phillips, Kiefer Sutherland early 90s.
Okay.
Cop shit.
Is this before or after Young Guns?
In the midst of Young Guns. After Young Guns, but before Young Guns 2. It's like they came together to work again. It looks fucking amazing.
Okay.
Like, I have to show you the trailer when we're done. Maybe we do that one as an unseen together and pit that one against The Hard Way, because I feel like they're around the same time that they came out. But I'll show you the trailer before I leave.
A good 2x2 pairing,
That
possibly.
Could be. Yeah.
January, February, March, April, May. Might be a good pairing for June.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah.
Yeah.
That works. Yeah. You have any TV?
Do I have any TV?
Yeah.
To talk about right now?
I got a little bit. I got to say.
Well, we mentioned Invincible. Falcon and Winter Soldier, which we're both enjoying. I have not started The Mighty Ducks Game Changers. Have you?
I have.
Okay.
I love it.
Okay.
I
Glad
love
to hear it.
about it.
I've been waiting a bit to take the plunge. I've heard good things.
It is. Yes.
I was also kind of waiting for more episodes to be available. 45 minutes. We're over a half hour runtime, so we're not going short and sweet Cobra Kai style.
Right.
But okay. I'm into it.
Only thing I will tell you, dude, is try not to visualize a ruggedly handsome young Martin Sheen, because that is exactly what Emilio looks like right now. I cannot get a Martin Sheen like a little bit after Apocalypse Now-ish out of my head. Like, he looks just like him to me. I can't. Right. I'm having trouble separating the two.
Well,
it's crazy because he turned and he tipped his hat, and I was like, Emilio.
Okay. Well, you may want to be on this episode, so maybe it needs to be a giant Zoom call. But the plan when Game Changers ends is to do a big season recap / trilogy ranking episode with Mr. Sunshine Mayfield and Mr. Max Gongaware from the Bending Not Breaking crew.
I would love to do that.
Because they are huge Ducks fans.
Of course. Ducks fly together.
And we should all fly together, and I think that'll be a fun episode.
Yeah, we should do it.
So we'll tease that now. I think that ends in like 8 or 9 weeks, so you can look forward to it somewhere after that. But yeah, I just haven't started it yet. But I'm excited to, especially now that you tell me that. I will, without spoiling anything for anybody, but this is technically a spoiler, but still answer me, because I do want to know, but don't tell me any details, okay? You got all that?
Yeah.
Are there any original Ducks in the pilot?
Thus far, no.
Okay. I'm glad to hear that. Mm-hmm. Because I think you gotta ease into
Honestly, the coach of the Mighty Ducks as they exist in the show.
Because I know they're essentially
I thought it was like...
They're doing the flip, where the Ducks are the villains now.
Essentially, but not really. I mean, it's all Pee Wee sports. I thought
it was... Cobra Kai rules. We take this shit seriously. Pee Wee hockey is life or death, sir.
In Minnesota, you're right. Yeah.
You may have to represent your whole fucking country at the Goodwill Games. You better watch out. You better be prepared.
And you better make sure the Minnesota Miracle Man is in your corner. Otherwise, you might end up in a body bag. Anyway, I thought the coach...
If the coach from Iceland does not show up in the end, a la Kreese...
Okay.
The show is bullshit. I just want to say that before it's over. If the Iceland coach does not show up in a finale smoking a cigar, I don't think that was part of his character, but smoking a cigar in the ice rink, not the dojo.
He's popping beach balls.
He's ashing on. Yes,
he's just popping beach balls.
I was gonna say he's ashing on the ice and just being very disrespectful.
Right.
It's like, who's this fucking guy in this black trench coat? And he turns around and he's got that slick back hair, and we're like, this guy's still alive?
Wolf Stanson? Oh my god! You didn't think I could pull Wolf Stanson out of my ass, did you? You forgot his name, didn't you?
I could not have done it myself.
It's because Julie the Cat Gaffney's like, Wolf Stanson was ready for us. He knew all about us. I just got to watch D2 now. But what I was saying, the coach for that, I thought for a split second the coach was either the kid who played Guy back in the day or one of the Iceland henchmen, like, all grown up.
Okay.
But I mean, I think he'd be a lot older than what this young kid looks like. But he definitely looks like he could have been on the Iceland team back in the day. Maybe that's the whole ploy. Maybe like the coach sent him in to corrupt the Ducks and make them become this uber
corrupt the Ducks.
Yeah, I don't know.
I hope they get. It's Disney though, so I know it's not going to. But I'm like, part of me just wishes I mean, I want them to be doing what they're doing, but I'm like, yo, Hayden Schlossberg, John Hurwitz, you guys like Mighty Ducks? You want to fucking...
What else do you guys love that we could do? I mean, why? Yeah.
Would love to know for sure.
That would be great.
So I haven't started it yet. I'm enjoying, or we already finished it. We couldn't make it last. We watched the new season of Nailed It like almost immediately.
Okay.
Fantastic stuff. Still working my way through Banshee.
Okay.
Well behind the family.
Yes.
My one big...
That's so weird that you haven't finished a show
weird.
all the family has watched.
Veronica, when she heard Mom had already watched all of it, she's like, she watches that show? I was like, my mom... She's like, isn't that a boy show? I was like, my mom watches all the boy shows. My mom watches Sons of Anarchy.
Except
like,
for The Boys. She hasn't watched that
It's like
yet.
my mom... And dude, when I saw them out of the Gardeners, I was like, hey, for real, I've told both of you now multiple times, you need to be watching The Boys. Like, I know you loved Banshee. I was like, Lucas Hood as, like, asshole Superman.
Right.
You need to check it out. He's great. And see, what Mom doesn't know is it's got the secret sauce. It's got the Carl Urban in there. And when she watches that show, she's gonna be over the moon.
Well, no, of course. Then you tell her it's Meg Ryan and Dennis Quaid's kid,
And then
she's
when
like, oh my God.
that's what you say. You save that reveal until she's well into season 2, and you're like, hey, by the way, did you know this?
Yeah.
Okay. She's also gonna flip because Luca's gonna show up. Goran Visnich.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, dude.
I forgot. Yeah, because I totally forgot the ending to the second season.
Pretty wild stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
You were like, oh, I thought we already crested and had a pretty wild climax, and it's like, this is The Boys, by the way.
Did you forget? Like,
so just
you think this is a
remember-
game?
Yes. Excuse you. You think this? The Boys? You think this is a game? You think this is supposed to be fun? Okay, I have one big one. I haven't talked with you about it all. I guess it technically falls under TV. It aired on the BBC in February. It is not publicly available, and nobody's like rebroadcast or bought the rights, but you can go watch this on YouTube right now, and I highly recommend that you do. I've still got 2 more parts to go. It is a 6-part documentary series called Can't Get You Out of My Head. Okay?
Okay.
Broad strokes, it is about individualism versus collectivism in modern world history.
Uh-huh.
And it is one of the best docs I've ever seen. The guy, I think it's Adam Harris. I may be fucking that up. His name escapes me. It's just impeccably well put together. He takes all of these disparate elements and like different stories going on throughout history. Again, basically we're kind of looking at like the 40s forward.
Right.
And he jumps all around through time and across borders, etc. And he builds up these narratives that you're like, what does all, like, but why these things paired and juxtaposed with each other? Why? I don't, what? And then you get to the last, like, 15 minutes of each part, and you're like, whoa, dude, you just, like, brought it all together, and you managed to do it in, like, beautiful, lyrical, visual montage set to, like, cool-ass indie music, and, like, very, there's a lot of voiceover, a lot of him talking, but there are no talking heads. There are clips, and basically he had access to the entire BBC archives. So anything that's ever been filmed for the BBC or has aired on the BBC was fair game for him to use in this thing.
Wow.
And so some of the footage he gets is just incredible and stuff you've never seen before. And so again, you have his like kind of running narration, but a lot of these like long stretches where you're just like, it's a crazy music montage and like things that you don't think fit together, but he slowly is like kind of reforming the way your brain works, where you're just like, oh, I'm starting to see things the way you apparently see them, which is all of these connections and shit. I will send you the link to the first part on YouTube, but it's incredible stuff. I think it's about 8.5 hours total, but broken into 6 parts. Again, we have 2 more left, so highly recommend it. Can't Get You Out of My Head. Available on YouTube. That's it for my TV. I've got some. I got movie rewatches and new stuff.
Okay, so we already talked about Falcon and Winter Soldier.
We did.
And let's see, TV. First thing up, I watched. This is technically to me is TV. Watch a 2020 special on Stacey Stites and Heather Elvis, 2 separate 2020 episodes.
I don't know who those people are.
Real quick, Stacey Stites was murdered in Texas a long time ago, and a black man is sitting on death row because of it. But what people probably were shocked about when they saw the episode was that shortly after this guy went to jail, her ex-husband, who was a cop, went to prison for 10 years for raping a woman.
Interesting.
And everything points to this fucking guy killed his fiance because she was fucking this guy that, got blamed for her murder. He goes in thinking they're talking to him about drug charges, and out of nowhere, he gets a murder rap. And luckily, his sentence has been stayed, but whenever they actually analyze the new evidence that has never been analyzed, they're not going to find a trace of DNA near her, and that man will have spent at least 20, 30 years of his life in prison for no reason. All because he's a black man in Texas. But I watched 2020 on that.
That's infuriating. Okay.
Yeah. And the other one was about Heather Elvis, this girl that disappeared up in Myrtle Beach a couple years ago. And the 2 people who she was linked to, her disappearance, they are basically, I think they're still in prison, but not for murder. She's never been found. They don't know whatever happened to her. More likely, they probably put her in a swamp, but still to this day, they haven't found her. 2020, man, they got all the good cases on there.
All the good cases, yeah.
All the ones that people need to know about.
One, I need to know about them so I can avoid them like the plague.
Exactly.
I'm not going to watch those, but thanks for filling me in on.
You're welcome.
That darkness.
I watched The Jinx on HBO. I technically call that TV because it's episodic, about 6 episodes. Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Like one of the best.
I was going to say, you're very muted on that. I was surprised you just now got to it.
Well, it'd been hyped up in my head for so long. People had talked about it. I'm like, what? I don't get. Okay, so the dude makes a movie about Durst and like
catches him in the midst of the making of it.
Yeah, that
and you're like, yeah, and you're like, well, how'd that happen? It's like, he's a fucking idiot. He didn't take his mic off. He was taking a piss.
Yeah, the fact that they show you that happened before.
Yes.
And his lawyer's like, your mic's hot. You don't think it's going to happen again. And when it does, you're like, oh my God, what the fuck? Yeah. Like, wild shit.
I don't know how it plays post Jinx, but did you ever see, oh my God. Oh, what was it called?
What was it about?
It's basically Durst without saying it's Durst with Ryan Gosling and
No, that's the movie he made that made Durst go in. I watched that movie.
Yeah.
He made
what is it called?
All Good Things?
All Good Things, thank you.
Yeah, he made the movie.
Yeah, Jarecki, yes.
But he did that before the Jinx.
Yes, but I'm saying I didn't know if you had seen that movie yet. I was saying I don't know how it plays once you watch the Jinx, like why you would really ever want to watch the movie.
Right.
But I did see it in revert. Like I watched that when it came out because it was at the height of Gosling.
Yeah.
You know.
Me too.
So, anyways.
I mean, it's like, I see pictures of Robert Durst from back in the day, and I'm like, I guess maybe people would have compared him to Ryan Gosling, like how good looking he is.
Well, that's the other thing, though, is like in that movie, you have Gosling like downplaying how good he looks the whole time.
Exactly.
And like trying to creep himself up.
Yeah. Another one I watched, No One Saw a Thing. It's a multi-episode crime doc about the town of Skidmore, Missouri.
Yeah, I'm familiarize our listeners, though. I was just going to say, I believe there's a podcast as well, and Barham has recommended this series to me as well.
It's essentially, back in the day, the town bully got murdered in broad daylight. His car shot up, everything, and no one has talked. No one has served time for it. And it goes into how that affected the town, how it came to, the demons came home to roost on the children of that town growing up. I thought it was really well done. A lot of good interviews with people adjacent. Like one of my favorite people, and it was an ex-Vietnam guy who was just wild, crazy, like Casey and the Sunshine Band kind of frontman. And he very frankly up front says the only mistake the town made was they didn't kill his wife right there too. Because if they had, all this would have been over with. No one would have cared.
Right.
Like you know. And he says like, I carried a gun all the time. If he came at me, I'd have shot him. Like he was just a menace. And they talk about how like there was a Brian Dennehy movie made about it. And the fucked up thing that like the kid's grandson had to watch that as like part of the curriculum in that town.
Oh Jesus!
Fucked up shit. And but they have the kid very frankly being like, I didn't really know him. I know what my family tells me of him, but I didn't feel like I should have to sit there and watch this movie they made about what happened to my grandfather on Main Street getting fucking shot to pieces. So it does a lot to like, they build him up as like, oh, this dude was bad and he had to go, but it also gives a very, very, very clear human image of what that does to like his family after it's all said and done. And then the town and the rest of the people, because there's a disappearance and 2 brutal murders that they cover that they say is, it's not like the town is cursed, but they're definitely like nothing good has happened since then. This town has like enveloped on itself. Like you could almost make, if you wanted to make like a cheap horror movie, you do like a In the Mouth of Madness, this town is haunted, but it's not like this huge gothic New England thing. It's like Skidmore, Missouri. That would work. And all right. Started watching Baskets. I've never seen it before.
You like it?
I love Baskets.
Yeah, dude. Great show.
It's so fucking good. And the last big thing I watched, I consider it a series, is I watched The Age of Samurai.
Have not started it yet. That's the Netflix one.
Very good.
All right.
Very
and that's
good.
like partial documentary / reenactment, but like there's a narrative to it, right?
They
like,
basically track Oda Nobunaga's eventual start to unify Japan all the way through to basically one of his homeboys finishing the job, and then like it passes along. It does. The reenactments are great. It's a lot of British scholars that are talking to you. They don't have they have maybe 2 or 3 Japanese historians that only speak Japanese. They have 2 or 3 that speak English pretty well. But it's a lot of British historians telling you like what was going on at the time, you know, how he brought guns into play for a little bit, or the precursor to guns, what they do. They don't really go into the whole like they don't really go into like the Last Samurai territory of like, okay, the samurai becomes this, but they do a lot to talk about how like for, you know, a good 100 years or so, most of the youth and like men in Japan, they had war to go fight amongst each other, and just, you know, getting into them trying to get at China via Korea. It was really, really well done. They definitely put a lot of money into. I would want to watch the movie of the reenactments as a movie on its own.
Right, removed from
that. You could make a whole or a whole TV show just with the reenactments if you maybe shot a couple more key scenes and you're golden. But that's probably one of my favorite
that
ones.
That one's definitely on my list. I will be getting to it soon. Speaking of Netflix, did you watch Bad Trip?
No.
Well, you need to so we can talk about it, because I really can't tell you.
Noah, I started it, and I started it and turned it on, and I made the mistake of looking at my clock and realizing it was 3:45 in the morning and I needed to go to bed. And I was like, I got to shut this off, because I will sit here and watch this entire thing, and I will get 30 minutes of sleep and then get up and go to work.
I was so glad to see it. It's still in the top 10, but it was dominating number 1 slot for several days. Huge Eric Andre fan.
Yes.
It is the most accessible thing he's ever done. But I love that there's a whole new generation and group of people that have like never seen any of his shit, that are now just seeing a little tiny fraction of it, and that I have been able to say to all of my coworkers who have no familiarity with him,
go back on
HBO Max. Go on HBO Max or Hulu or whoever has it right now, or just go to YouTube and check out the Eric Andre show, because what you saw in that movie, that's actually like tame and kind of quaint.
That's like a 4. That's a 4.
Exactly. And it's like, they hear that and they're like, what? I was like, yeah, the show is way wilder than this movie. The movie is still fucking wild as hell, dude. I cannot wait to talk about some of the bits with you. All I will say, he and Laurel, great together. Tiffany Haddish is on another planet. She's so good.
Dude, when
it's the kind of thing where it's like, you see Maria Bakalova getting nomination for Borat subsequent movie film, richly deserved, 100%. And then I sit here and I watch Tiffany Haddish, and I'm like, that should be up for supporting actress this coming year. She's so fantastic in it. It's great.
It got to the point that when she first comes in and she's got her ride and she's asking the old ladies, "You see my ride out there?" I was like, I can't do this because I'm like, I know what's gonna happen. I know I get embarrassed for people easily. So like, as funny as the bit is, I'm like, oh, these poor people, but also not really because it's fucking hilarious.
Well, that is before you go into it, and this is one of I was talking about the differences with Tim earlier today on the phone, actually, because obviously the comparison point is like Borat or Bad Grandpa or something,
right?
But where you're doing narrative, but there's people in it who are not in on the joke, essentially. Right. And like Borat, not always, and there was enough to differentiate it, especially in the second one. But a lot of times that humor is at the expense of the people who are having the joke played on them.
Right.
Bad Trip, the joke is always on them. It is masochistic.
It's just the reaction. It's the reactions.
It's the real reactions from people, but it is not. I mean, it is, yes, fucking with people to a certain extent, but it weirdly has this heart to it that you'll see throughout the movie. I can't wait to talk about it with you, but hugely enjoyable. Doesn't outstay its welcome. Perfect runtime. Totally rewatchable as well. Bits that you'll want to go back to. I'm just glad it's finally out and people can see it, and that it was a huge success as well. Bad Trip on Netflix.
I was waiting on that one.
Huge recommend, and we will talk about it more after Gavin's seen it. Did you? I got another new one over on HBO Max, or just HBO. Did you watch Tina?
Yes.
What'd you think?
I watched it and instantly told myself, if for some reason I ever have the ability to speak to that woman, I will never mention that motherfucker's name, because it played to me so much that like I get what happened, I get why it happened. I'm a man, I can't speak to what women feel. I understand her as a woman in that time doing what she thought was right with what happened with that motherfucker, and then what she did to tell people about what happened with that piece of shit, and then wanting to be done. And like the saddest thing is like, she's got #1 albums, she's doing this, she's doing that, and people are asking her about this piece of shit. That is the most infuriating thing. But the most beautiful thing about it is I never heard her in any public interview sit there and be like, fuck him. She was like, I really wish he was doing this and doing that. And that's just a testament to that woman.
Her character, yes.
Because Mimi said it the best. Ain't nobody else like Tina. Mimi fucking loved Tina Turner. Mm-hmm. And so that doc just proved it to me that needs to be the final word on whatever. I love the way that they ended it. They bookended it with her and her new husband. I think that's great. And
this kind of being her final statement on everything. Right. It's like, I'm not really going to be performing anymore. Right. This is kind of like my career end cap. The big thing for me, and it's anytime you delve deeper into these and you get like more of the full picture and the full story. In my mind, it was always, she got out from the clutches of he who shall not be named. That motherfucker, as you put it. 100% agree. And in my head, it was like, boom, she immediately turned it around. Huge success again. And it was like, no, she actually like struggled for like 3 or 4 years there, trying to find a new sound, trying to find people who would work with her within the industry because of like all of her ties to him. People still thinking they were attached because she was bound and determined to keep that name. Like,
I love when they were like, oh yeah, she got the name from it. Yeah. Like she took that.
All of that stuff though, I was just like, yeah, again, in my memory, it's just like, oh, and then she became this huge solo star, but you don't think about the transition time, and especially like you were talking about the constant interviews where it's like, well, yeah, maybe I kind of want to back off of being in the public eye, but I'm also trying to rebuild my career, but it's like, do I want to constantly have to be, you know, she references several times that like, I don't like to think about the past. Like, I literally live in the moment,
right,
moving forward, and to constantly have to be reminded of that shit every time you sit down to talk to somebody, like, for years after that person has anything to do with your life or your career has to be infuriating. And like you said, the composure that she handles it with, to not just immediately be like, seriously, I'm answering this for like the 40th fucking time today on this press junket.
Literally,
like, get out of my face.
Anytime after that People magazine story comes out, she does not have to say a fucking word about it again.
Right.
Can fucking shit talk him all she wants and is completely justified for it. But the fact that she doesn't just tells you how much of a woman she is. Oh. And people could fucking learn a thing or two from Tina Turner. And that's all I got to say.
Great doc. I thought it was fantastic.
Doc. I had
some of the archive footage and stuff that you've never seen, the studio sessions and everything.
And the crazy thing, man, like it's so fucking weird to think that like Phil Spector has literally been everybody that I fucking like dig. Phil Spector was there, man.
I immediately went on a wall of sound kick on Spotify like the night after watching that doc. Mm-hmm. But when he's introduced in the doc as well, when it's like, and then she went to go make River Deep Mountain High, and I was just like, oh yeah, from one crazy motherfucker to another one, like, because you know you're sitting there and part of you wants to be like, but I love Kurt Loder has a great bit about it where it's like, yes, I'm gonna say his name, I'm sorry, but like, yes, Ike was a good musician for that style. But he was never gonna do anything other than that style. Like there was never gonna be an evolution.
Right.
It was just like this is how I play. This is it. It was never gonna go anywhere.
Right.
And so all of a sudden, you know, and I love he goes through that whole runner of like, you hear that song and it's like, oh my god. And of course it came out and it was a commercial failure.
But they loved it in Europe. That's the thing.
Right.
And I feel like, I don't know, there's so many that you forget that it's like I feel like she's lost her place a bit when you think of like, because of that, I feel like people don't think about just like her in general and her contribution to music at all. Because yes, there's Aretha Franklin, there's, who's the other one I'm thinking of? Then you get into like, I feel like she fades back when you think of like Whitney Houston being a big deal in the 80s coming up as Tina Turner is. The fact that they're like, yeah, she's 40, 50-year-old performer, you know, and, you know, it's like, oh yeah, but we did get to fulfill her dream. She got to sell out some stadiums. Just knowing what things were important to her and what she was able to do.
Crowds you see too, dude, where it's just like, you forget how, like, there was one where it was like 183,000, I think, on a beach or whatever. And Veronica was like, I didn't know you were allowed to like have that many people at a concert.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yeah, in other countries you are because there's less regulations on it. But like, yeah,
because they're not stupid and they're not going to get shit-faced.
But she immediately was just like, how are all those people getting home? Like, where's everybody? How do you disperse that many people?
Well, in Europe, there's public transportation.
Yeah.
They've managed it pretty well.
Oh, God.
And again, they've been drinking since they're 14 and they're not going to be fucking idiots about it.
Speaking of drinking, perfect transition. Brother, thank you. I don't think you and I have discussed my favorite movie I've seen recently. This is almost a month ago. It's called Another Round.
I need to watch it.
It's on Hulu.
Yeah.
It is up for Best International Feature at the Oscars. Well deserved. Directed by Thomas Vinterberg, starring Mr. Mads Mikkelsen, who delivers my favorite performance of the year by far. One of those where I'm like, 100% Chadwick's going to get this best actor. Not mad at it at all. Mm-mm. So happy it's happening. But it is one of those where I'm like, Mads isn't even nominated? But Thomas Vinterberg did get nominated for Best Director, which is basically saying, like, it's gonna win International Feature. Like, you don't nominate the director for Best Director.
Yeah.
And it not win, even though it's not up for Best Picture. It didn't have the crossover like Parasite did.
Right.
But it's incredible. I guess you know the basic setup for our listeners, though. 4 Danish school teachers decide to test I believe this is an actual theory that exists or whatever, but I think it's a Danish psychologist, philosopher, scientist, etc., who believes that humans are born with deficient blood alcohol level by 0.05%. So basically, for all of us to live at our maximum peak capacity to operate at our highest level, we should all be slightly drunk.
Yeah.
0.05%. And so they decide to test this theory to see if they're all basically in like bordering on midlife crisis mode, maybe a little even past midlife crisis mode, all struggling in different aspects of their life, and just basically seeing if becoming functioning alcoholics will change things up at all. And it is fucking brilliant. It's so good. It's got the laughs, but it also has the pathos. It's not like an out and out comedy, but it's incredible. And Mads Mikkelsen, dude, it just everything I see him in, he's one of those guys. Never even bordering on bad. Like he doesn't even come close to mediocre. He is always exceptional in everything he's in, and he's one of those guys you cannot take your eyes off of him.
Nope.
In any language. Nope. But when he's in his home language, he is insanely good. Like one of the best actors on the planet. Like the Daniel Day-Lewis of... And he doesn't even do like deep character shit. Like that's why I feel like he's even more impressive in some ways, where I'm just like, he is these individual characters, but it's a very Philip Seymour Hoffman sort of thing, where it's like, he doesn't change his voice that much, doesn't even really change his look that much, but he will convince you that this is a completely unique human being than somebody else he's played who happens to look exactly like this guy. Right. It's that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. It's on Hulu. It's excellent. It's gonna win Best International Feature. You can mark it here before we do our Oscar predictions episode, which we also have to squeeze in this month because the Oscars are in like 3 weeks.
All right.
So we got to do Mario Brothers, Michael Clayton, and then we got to do an Oscar prediction episode.
All right. Well, let's do. We'll sort the housekeeping out later.
For sure. You got to watch another round in Bad Trip, dude.
Yeah.
We do a whole other like hour-long podcast on just those two.
All right, you want my
but
news?
Yeah, that's it on my new ones. I'm all rewatches from this point forward.
Okay. You want my new ones real quick? I'll just run them down for you.
Do it. I'll let you know if anything strikes my fancy.
All right. I, Tonya.
Didn't realize you didn't catch it prior.
Nope.
What'd you think?
Really enjoyed it. Really thought it was...
It's an entertaining movie.
As biopic / docudramas go, you can't beat it.
It's Scorsese for babies, but I enjoyed it. That's not a bad thing.
No.
But yeah.
Honest Thief.
Okay.
New Liam Neeson.
How new?
Like this year, 2020, 21, somewhere in there.
Okay.
This
is before The Marksman, though, correct?
Right.
Okay.
This is like
I can't keep track.
I know.
He kills so many people.
He's becoming another Charlie Bronson.
What was the
Run All Night?
What was the ice one?
Oh,
there an ice one?
Cold
recently?
something.
It was, yes, they changed the title. The original title was Hard Powder. Such a better title.
Oh yeah, of course.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Continue.
Yeah, Honest Thief.
I'll pass, by the way.
Yeah, no, it's all right. There's some Chai Courtney in there, a little bit of there's another like really well done character actor that's in there. Jade.
All right, and that's where it all ended. All came crashing down. We left it on the note of Jade. We experienced some I'm experiencing some right now. Some technical difficulties. So Gavin has had to roll home for the evening, but he told me to go ahead and tease this. We've got to do our Oscar predictions coming up very soon. It's just right around the corner. So we will have an odd pairing of our continued conversation of what we've been watching, probably starting off with Jade, which is quite something to talk about. It was a first-time watch for each of us. So we'll chat about that and everything else that was on Gavin's list, and then we'll do our Oscar predictions, and I think we're going to record that over Zoom very soon. So apologies for the shortened episode this week, but we will be back very, very soon. And then, of course, we've got a 2x2 coming at you shortly after that Oscar predictions episode, so stay tuned right here to the ARK of E podcast. Thank you for listening. My name is Noah. His name was Gavin. He is no longer here, but when he was, we were the Blanchard Brothers, and you were listening to what we've been watching. Thanks, guys.